Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Let's go.
Hello, Blitzers, and welcome back to another episode of the Buckeye Blitz podcast. I'm your host, Chad Stryker. Thank you for spending a few minutes of your day today with me, and I really appreciate all of you. I appreciate the encouragement and the folks that have reached out so far and telling me that they're enjoying the podcasts and that they're having fun listening to my rants. So thanks for the encouragement. I appreciate it. If you could hit that like button for us, it definitely helps with the algorithm with not only Twitter but YouTube when I post these. So it like pops us up to the top with Buckeye football information. And lastly, I especially appreciate you guys listening on Valentine's Day. So thank you for taking some time today. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. If you celebrate that sort of thing, which I try to at my house with my wife. So I appreciate the comments and the questions on my website and on our YouTube channel. Some of them make me laugh, so thanks. Keep them coming. So for other information, the spring game is April 15th. Spring practice starts in about 3 weeks. For the spring game, it sounds like there's still some tickets available. I have my tickets, looking forward to it. I try to go every year, weather permitting. And I really always enjoy the event. I think it's a fun family event. If you have never been, I'd suggest you go. Tickets are about $7, or they start at $7 plus your Ticketmaster fee or whatever. The Indiana game is exactly 200 days away from today. So right now, things are fairly quiet in Buckeye football world. The team is going through the Body by Marotti workout. So Mickey Marotti's got those guys, and they're doing mat drills and a variety of the other things that they do, getting stronger, getting leaner, and getting ready for spring practice. So this actually was excellent timing for this question that came in on the website, and I appreciate you, Chris, for submitting it. And you didn't leave a last name, but whoever you are, thank you. I appreciate that. And the question was, is Larry Johnson past his prime? And I'm assuming this had to do with this year's recruiting class that we missed out on a few key guys. So I'm going to kind of address that question as we're talking about the state of the position in the defensive line and the defensive line room. So let's get right to that. So a few things first. So I'll kind of answer this. Larry Johnson is not retiring this year. I enjoyed his answer at Media Day. If you didn't get to hear it or didn't get to listen to it, I think Bucknuts has that. You can check that out on YouTube. But basically, he said, until you come to Media Day or come to one of these events and I'm not in this chair, I'm not retired. So it doesn't sound like he is planning to retire this year. I don't think he's planning to retire next year. If you wanted me to ballpark a year, I would say in 3 years. If I was going to guess, that's just a guess. But so what's going on with Larry Johnson? Is he past his prime? No, flat out no. I don't think Larry Johnson has lost a step in development. Does Larry Johnson love technology and use technology the way today's recruiting folks do, like maybe Coach Key or Coach Laurinaitis or Coach Hart? No, can't expect him to. So he doesn't use Twitter much. I do follow him on Twitter. He's not super active on there. Um, has he lost a step with the development of his guys? No, no. Some of the guys, just like anything else, you're going to bring guys in and they're just not. They're not going to reach their full potential for whatever reason. You're taking a shot on kids that are 18-year olds in high school. And you want to develop them into the best young men and football players you can, and sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. And I understand. I think the point of this question was we lost out on Damon Wilson. We lost out on the Uyunglele kid. We lost out on Keon Keeley, all in this cycle. And that's NIL. That's not LJ. You know, Uyunglele especially, I think there was a couple things at play. His brother going and transferring to Oregon State. And then the NIL money at Oregon is pretty hefty. Alabama's building their own NIL facility where Keon Keeley ended up, and Damon Wilson went to Georgia. So, you know, you win some, you lose some in those battles. You're fighting with other blue bloods, for a lot of those guys, and that's just going to happen. So, Larry Johnson is a relationship guy. He's big on building relationships. And Ohio State is, unfortunately, as I've harped on, a little behind the NIL curve. I think they're catching up. Hang in there. It's getting there. They're going to get it right. They're going to get it fixed. It's all going to be okay. So something around this, I guess, that's matriculating around and like kind of this undertone is, why aren't we seeing the quote unquote development for some of the defensive line guys like the Bosas and the Youngs, and before that maybe Cam Hayward and some of those folks? Why aren't we seeing that right now? And so we've seen spurts. We've seen spurts from JTT or JT Tulamolao, but we've yet to see him put it all together for consistency. And we see spurts from Jack Sawyer, and I think there was a lot of expectations for Jack Sawyer, especially coming in as an Ohio kid. Um, and they really, put a lot of, I guess, high expectations on him. So, a little background here for JTT. He, and I know he doesn't like being called that, but saying Tulamolao over and over is challenging. So, he, to play D1 football in the Big Ten, he needed to add a little weight, add a little strength, get used to, his frame, get used to bending. He liked to play basketball. He came in a little lean. He's, a little raw at the position. He had all the talent in the world. So when he came in, as a freshman coming in and then really seeing extensive playing time last year, I think that this year is the year he makes the leap. Chase Young and the Bosas, they came in and they were more or less men and ready to go. And not saying JTT isn't or wasn't, but I'm saying he's still learning the game of football. He's learning how to utilize his body, and he needed to get leaner or bigger and stronger. Jack Sawyer is a whole other thing, and I'll just call it like I see it. They went and messed around with him, putting him in the jack position. He added weight, he added bulk, he added strength, and now I think they're asking him to do things his body just isn't meant to do at that size. I want them to put his hand back down in the dirt, make him a true defensive end again, and let him do what he does and create havoc. And I think he'll be just fine. I think that's really what happened last year. I don't think this is a Larry Johnson thing. I think this was a defensive scheme thing. And unfortunately, Jack Sawyer got the kind of raw end of that deal. So, end of the rant there about Jack Sawyer. But no, Larry Johnson is still Larry Johnson. He's still the GOAT until he's not. And right now he is. And I think the defensive line this year is going to have a kind of a bounce back, comeback year. Like I said, I think JTT takes a big step this year. I wouldn't be surprised if he had multiple games like he did against Penn State. I think Jack Sawyer probably leads the team in sacks this year if they put him back down in the dirt and let him play his natural position. So, I know that everybody was kind of bummed about missing out on the big three with Keeley, Uyunglele, and Damon Wilson, and I thought we had a legitimate chance at Damon Wilson. I really did. I didn't think we had a true shot at Keon Keeley, even though there was a lot of hype around it when he came to Ohio State for the Notre Dame game. He got to meet LeBron James, so there was some smoke around that, and it was legit. But I didn't actually ever believe we were going to get him. But this year we did pull in Josh Mickens, a flip from LSU, and then Caden McDonald, who I think is going to be an amazing defensive tackle. Like I wouldn't be surprised if he played some this year. So As far as I'm concerned, though, there are four very clear starters for me this year, and probably three or four more guys that could start or will be definitely in the two deep. So your defensive ends are going to be JT Tuimoloau and Jack Sawyer. Defensive tackles better be, and I say better be, Tyleik Williams and Mike Hall. So other names to watch at defensive end in the two deep this year: Caden Curry. He played a lot on special teams. He started to get some run at the end of the year. I fully expect him to be in the two deep and to see him a lot because they're going to rotate. So Amari Abor and Kenyatta Jackson are two other ones. I expect Kenyatta Jackson to take that next step this year too. Other names at defensive tackle: Ty Hamilton, who had some run last year, especially when Mike Hall was out. I expect him to obviously be in the two deep, and I don't expect him to start. But I've been wrong before. And then Hero Canoe is another name that I keep hearing and hearing and hearing. So incoming freshmen: Will Smith Jr., Jason Moore, Josh Mickens, Caden McDonald, all quality players. Other depth, you have Bryce and Zach Prater and Jack Cicero. We'll see. We'll see on those guys. What I know, the projected starters have high expectations. Always do on the defensive line at Ohio State. Always will, as long as Larry Johnson's there. They'll need to take the next step. The projected starters, as I mentioned, they'll need to take the next step to meet the standard of what we've come to expect out of that room. I fully expect a healthy Michael Hall Jr. to probably be the best defensive tackle that we've seen, maybe since Cam Hayward. Like, he is a absolute stud. And behind the obvious starters of Hall and Williams, as I mentioned, at least I hope they're going to be the ones that start: Ty Hamilton and Hero Canoe. Hero Canoe hasn't played a ton of football. He came over from Germany and he camped, but I do think he's one of those pure talent guys, and I do expect him to be in the two deep, and I expect him to make an impact on in this rotation. I'm excited to see what he can do. He's real powerful, and if he can stick to the gap scheme and do what he's supposed to do, he'll have a good year. Ty Hamilton kind of came on mid-season. He played pretty well, but he doesn't have the explosion that Mike Hall Jr. does. And Ty Hamilton will be a senior this year. I do expect him to be a leader in that room. He will play a lot. They're going to rotate. I just believe Mike Hall is a game wrecker, and he needs to be on the field as much as he possibly can, as long as he's healthy. At defensive end, people haven't really talked about this a lot, but Javonte Jean-Baptiste leaving for Notre Dame kind of pulled some seniority away from that room, and I don't blame him. He wasn't going to start, and he was probably going to get intermixed with a lot of those young guys, and but there is a hole there left with some of that leadership. So, and he played a lot of snaps this year. So, welcome to the fold, Kenyatta Jackson and Caden Curry. You're Amari Abor. Welcome to the fold. So, and let's face it, those guys need to rotate. They're big guys. As much as we hate it, it drives me crazy. They all need a breather so that they're playing at peak performance levels. So, lastly, incoming freshmen, I touched on this a little bit, but I think Caden McDonald might get to play, right off the jump. I expect, because they're a little thin at defensive tackle anyways, I think he'll be in the rotation in that 2/3 deep. He's a disruptive force. He's going to be a big piece of the line, and if not this year, in 2024, certainly. Will Smith Jr., a legacy, and if you remember Will Smith, his dad, heck of a football player, one of the best to ever come through Ohio State on the defensive line. I think he'll need to redshirt. I think he's going to need time to develop. I think he needs to put on some weight. I do expect big things from him, but I think he needs to put on some weight and get stronger if he's going to play that defensive tackle position in college. At defensive end, I mentioned Joshua Mickens. I'm really, really excited to see him. Pencil him in as a starter next year, more than likely. He'll get to play this year. He'll be a force. He's a true elite rushman type pass rusher. So excited about him. I know people were down about the big three we lost, but this is a nice pickup. So all that said, the state of the defensive line position is strong. If I were going to give it a grade, I'd give it a B plus to start the spring. We'll see where it goes from here. I again, I don't think there's going to be any drop off. I actually think they're going to be better than last year. So with that, thank you for listening. Have a happy Valentine's Day, everyone. I appreciate you guys listening. If you could, please hit that like and subscribe button. Until next time, see ya.